You're listening to the Tao of Indifference, sex, dating, and relationship advice for an indifferent world. For more advice and tips, check out taoofindifference.com or follow us on Twitter at indifferent_D.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Tao of Indifference. Today's episode is on the friend zone. It's a topic that I continuously have to talk about, and for some reason, I guess people don't realize what the friend zone really is and how to get out of it, etc. So today, I will tell you the tips to not only not get into the friend zone, but never, ever, ever be in the friend zone ever again, and to get out of it, and how to get out of it as well. So first, let me just say that the friend zone really is a place of your own making. If you are someone who believes in the friend zone and feel that you've been friend zoned, that really is your decision. No person, and I'm assuming that you're a man, if you've been friend zoned, it's more common. If I'm being gender biased, please excuse me. But for the sake of convenience, I will refer to men as the people being friend zoned and women as the people they accuse of friend zoning them. So if you are a man who's been friend zoned, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. No woman has ever said, "Oh, I totally friend zoned that guy. Yeah, totally worth it. Yep, put him in the friend zone." No girl's ever said that because they don't think the friend zone exists. You either are someone's friend or you're not. You're either attracted to them or not. You either want to hook up with them or not. It's a binary system. So with that in mind, I will just say that men put themselves in the friend zone through their own behaviors, and they can get out of the so-called friend zone through their own behaviors. Now, when I say get out, I just want to be clear that you cannot make someone attracted to you who will never be attracted to you. So, how do you get out of the friend zone, or how do you avoid getting in it in the first place? Now, there's two approaches. There's two behavior types to avoid, but let me just get this out of the way. The people who talk about the friend zone the most are folks who go to these pickup artist forums and websites, and they get advice from other pickup artists and people on these forums on how to avoid the friend zone. And a lot of the advice has a basis that comes from a place that's good, but is executed extremely poorly. So here are some behavior types that they advocate that I would highly recommend that you avoid. And these are what I'm going to call the alpha, quote unquote, alpha traits that people think are the way to get girls to like you and to get out of the friend zone. And they are acting entitled, acting disinterested, acting negatively or abrasively to get a rise out of someone, trying to dominate a conversation, trying to be goal-driven, i.e. getting numbers, getting her in bed, etc. Trying to disarm someone, and playing it all like one big game. Now, you can go to pickup artist forums and look up alpha behavior and pickup artist techniques, and really they boil down to those traits that I described. They might be worded a little differently, but when it comes down to it, I think what I read was somebody said, you have to act like you deserve to be talking to her, which means act entitled. These behaviors are advocated for by these pickup artists, and you'll notice that what they all have in common, these so-called alpha behaviors, is that they really are all about you, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it really is all about you asserting your dominance and you being the center of attention and challenging and all these things. And these are things that these alphas tell nice guys to do so they can come off as like the bad boy, because apparently, allegedly, women are attracted to bad boys. I can tell you for a fact that that isn't necessarily a true statement as a blanket statement. Women are attracted to men who exhibit some bad boy traits, or what you would consider alpha, and they're also attracted to men who are what some would consider beta. So here's my point. The thing is that the issue that I have with this whole alpha beta idea is that the central concept behind alpha behavior is that these behavior traits are what attract all women, period. And beta traits are what women are not attracted to, and they'll walk all over you if you have these traits. So here's a good example. I read through all I could find and stomach of these pickup artist websites and forums, and one of the tips that comes up a lot is asserting dominance. You're an alpha, you're asserting dominance, you're the big man on campus, essentially. And a lot of these alpha traits are all about drawing attention to yourself. Be assertive, act like you should be talking to someone, dominate the conversation, make sure that they're focused on you, and be indifferent to the fact that they're focused on you. So it's very much like you. All right? So then I looked at the flip side of it, of what are some beta traits? Because I'm very curious about, like, for starters, not every man you meet who is successful in life is considered an alpha. Success doesn't make you an alpha. You might just be lucky, or things happen, and not everyone exhibits alpha traits. There's never a group of men who are all the leader of that friend group. It's not how life works. We're not in the wild, and we're not wolves. So the idea of alpha beta is ridiculous. But to my point, this alpha concept is make it all about you, make it seem like you're the man in charge, you're the big man. The only problem with that is that beta men they are seen often as attention seeking. So I'm not sure if you get what I'm going for, but a beta man is attention seeking, and that's negative. An alpha man is attention seeking through dominance as a positive trait. That, my friends, is what we call cognitive dissonance. Please Google it. Essentially, every trait, it's sort of like horoscopes. If I tell you that you are smart and caring, and you take it as a positive, and then I tell someone else that they are too in their head and too preoccupied on people's feelings, I'm saying the same thing in a way that one sounds positive and one sounds negative. You're cerebral and very empathic gives it a real neutral way of saying it. So it's all about language and how these people word it. And these pickup artist techniques are all about wording basically just good character traits and turning them and twisting them into, this is how you become this stud of a man and never get put in the friend zone. It's pointless. Look, so let's go to this beta or nice guy traits. I'm all for being a nice person, but you have to understand that quote unquote nice guys is different from being a nice person. There's nothing wrong with being nice, but being a pushover is something you want to avoid completely. Now, a lot of what people say are their traits when they're describing themselves as a nice guy are really just them being passive and sort of acting as pushovers and being yes men. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes these people say, well, I would do anything for this girl and she won't get with me. I would bring her flowers every day, and all just ridiculous declarations of, I would go over the top to impress this girl who I've never had an actual conversation with. That is not being nice. Being nice is telling someone that they look nice today, or that they did a great job, or that you're proud of them for getting a new job, or things like that. That's nice. And those behaviors where you're sort of going over the top, going the extreme end of nice, quote unquote, is not nice at all. And you want to avoid those kind of character traits, what we call nice guy traits. So here are the traits you want to avoid if you don't want to end up in the friend zone. 1, being a doormat. Now, there's a really simple way to see if you're being a doormat. You're interested in a girl, and she asks you to do something. And I'm assuming she's an attractive girl, you're attracted to her. You're interested in a girl and she asks you to do something. Ask yourself this: would I do this for a male friend? Would I do this for a close friend? Would I do this for a friend who's not that close to me? Would I do this for an acquaintance? If your answer is no to all of those questions, or would I do this for someone I'm attracted to? The answer is no. If your answer is no for all those questions, that means you're being a doormat. If somebody's asking you, hey, can you give me a ride to the airport? You own a car, and you would do that for any of your friends, not a problem. You're not a doormat. You're just being nice. That is legitimately nice. If someone says, hey, can you help me move? Also, there are no movers. Also, I live in a 5th floor walk-up. Also, I can't help you because my hand's broken, so it'll really just be you moving my entire apartment. Would you do that for your best friend? Would you do that for someone you're not attracted to? Would you do it for someone of the opposite sex who is a friend of yours? Would you do it for an acquaintance, etc.? If it keeps being no, you're a doormat if you do it, and that's your own fault. Next, you want to avoid romantic gestures that are grander than your actual interactions with a person. And I want to be very clear on what I mean by this. If you are not even dating a girl, you're just seeing her, you're friends with her, and you want to declare your romantic interest in this person, there are two ways to do it. And one is fairly normal and not weird, and one is this over-the-top gesture. One, hey, I know we're friends. I'm also sort of attracted to you. Do you think maybe we could hang out sometime, like a date? Normal. That is declaring romantic interest at a measured level that is equal to your acquaintance, how you know each other. Same situation. You write a love note to this girl telling her how beautiful she is, how amazing she is, and how you would do anything to be with her. No, that is not equal to your actual interactions. If this is a friend of a friend and you've spoken twice and you wrote a love letter to her telling her how much you love her, you have failed. That is not being nice. It's being weird and creepy. And of course, she is going to reject you and put you in the quote-unquote friend zone. Next, not making your attraction clear. Like I said, you have to be pretty upfront with the fact that you're attracted to someone and let them decide from there. If they reject you, it's one thing, but you've at least made it clear that you're attracted to them, so your not being together is through no fault of your own. In that case, I mean, yeah, there might be other reasons. Putting someone on a pedestal. Now, I don't care how attractive you are. If you are attracted to a girl, it should not matter how attractive you are if you're going to be interested in dating her. If you feel like you're a 5 and she's a 10, you don't need to tell her that. You also are probably not a 5 if you've got the confidence to tell this 10 that you are incredibly attracted to her. And chances are, if you're seeing her only as a 10, you're probably not seeing all the flaws that make a person a person. Nobody's perfect, no matter how attractive they are. She might be incredibly attractive and have a brain full of mush. She might be incredibly attractive and, be a bigot. Or she could be incredibly attractive and amazing in every single way, but that doesn't make her perfect. And also, even if she is perfect, quote unquote, she might not be perfect for you specifically. So just because someone's attractive doesn't make them smart, funny, charming, interested in you. It just means that they're attractive. They know they're attractive, or they at least have some vague idea that they are moderately attractive. Next, you want to avoid assuming you have a connection whatsoever. Just because you have things in common does not mean that you have a connection. It just means that you have shared interests. Your interests, no matter how obscure there is someone else out in the world, at least one person, probably more, who has the same interests as you. I had this issue when I was younger, much younger, where I am interested in comics. I've made jokes about it, but I'm interested in comics, and comics are growing into a field that more and more women are embracing. But when 8 years ago, if a girl told me she was into comics, I immediately thought that she was the one for me, disregarding the fact that she might be a terrible, terrible human. My point is, no matter how weird you think your interests are, there are people who have those same interests, and that does not make them right for you. Perfect example, my girlfriend does not read comics. I think I've tricked her into reading one, and she liked it, but, she's not going to the comic book store on a Wednesday to check out what's new. You need to not let them decide everything. And guys can get in this habit, and it's a huge mistake, where what they do is any sort of plans, anything you can think of that requires a decision, they leave up to the girl. Now, there is a difference between saying, no, you know what, I don't care, let's do something. Let's do whatever. And on the other hand, you have the people who have opinions about things and really just are sublimating their own desires so that they can make the other person happy. I just realized I used the word sublimate. You can charge me 10 cents for that 10-cent word. My point being that if you want to go to the movies and she wants to go to a concert that you have no interest in seeing, maybe don't go to the concert you have no interest in seeing. If she doesn't want to go to that movie, she will tell you. The same way that she's telling you she doesn't want to go to see a movie, you can tell her you don't want to go see a concert because you don't enjoy the music. There's nothing wrong with that. And by extension, you want to make sure you're not letting them get away with anything that upsets you or offends you. Just because a girl is incredibly attractive does not mean that she gets to upset you and treat you like your feelings are meaningless. And that's just basic. You can use these tips to not be in the friend zone, or just you can use these tips to get through life. You should not be letting any of this happen. So, I don't know if you noticed based on the sort of traits, because I've really just whittled them down to really basic human traits, but the alpha traits and the nice guy traits, the beta traits, are on really extreme ends of a spectrum of human behavior. One's over the top, just aggressive, and one is incredibly passive to the point of being just a complete pushover. So what can you do to avoid the friend zone? Maybe you've noticed that you're doing one or the other. I can tell you right now, the pushover is the guy who ends up in the friend zone, and oftentimes the guy who becomes this ridiculous alpha jerk is the pushover who went on to these websites and realized, I've got to be super aggressive. These are usually the same guys. Everyone I know who is neither one or the other has never been the pushover and never been the incredible alpha over the top guy. They're usually a response to the other. It's usually you go from being quote unquote the nice guy to this over the top, everybody owes me something because I was a nice guy. So now I feel entitled and I'm going to act a certain way. So how do you do it? First, you need to not have any of those traits, period. You can be aggressive, you can be assertive, you can be confident, you can be someone who says their opinion, but there's a sort of balance that there is a balance you have to figure out. So, step one, you need to show an appropriate level of interest. What I mean by that is, if you met a girl for the first time and you think she's cute, and you think she's also attractive and smart and funny after you've spoken to her, she is not the love of your life. You might have some sort of precognitive abilities. That doesn't matter. You need to approach it based solely on the level of interest that you've established between each other. If she thinks you're cute and you think she's cute, that's fine. But just because you met someone that you like does not mean that you are going to marry them. There you go. Appropriate level of interest, and reciprocate that interest. Step two, don't go into things with expectations. Again, you want to be able to say, I met you, you're interesting, you're interested in me, let's hang out, and not make it so that this person, you're planning on them being your girlfriend, you're moving in together, you're getting married, you're having kids within 10 minutes of meeting someone who you connect with. No expectations. Don't be goal-driven. Next, you want to make them comfortable but not complacent. This goes back to the idea that you think you need to have to disarm someone. People know when they're trying to be disarmed, and they realize that, and they put their guard up even further. And there's a difference between disarming and making someone comfortable. If someone's guard is up, it's possible that their guard is up because you are a stranger and you're talking to them in a public setting. And so you make them comfortable. You introduce yourself and you speak to them like you would anyone else, and you don't make it all about how attractive they are. And all these tips I've given about icebreakers, you really use them to your advantage. You make them comfortable so that even if they're not attracted to you, they don't feel uncomfortable saying that they're not attracted to you. You want to make people, especially if you're a man speaking to a woman, you want to make them comfortable so that at the very least, if they are rejecting you, they don't feel pressured into not rejecting you, or they want to reject you, they won't feel pressured to not reject you, which will save you a lot of time, and you won't feel led on if you make people feel comfortable. I've got a big book. That's what those page turns are. All right. Fourth one, treat them how you want to be treated. Really simple. Treat them nice. Don't be rude on purpose. But by extension, make sure that they treat you how you want to be treated. And that's number 5. And what I mean by those is golden rule and all that, But If you want someone to be interested in you, and you want to sort of get their interest, you don't do it by, great example, you don't get someone interested in you by bringing them flowers. There's nothing wrong with giving women flowers. Everyone loves giving people the dead sex organs of plants. We get it. Or the sex organs of dead plants. We get it. But that is a romantic gesture for someone who you are seriously seeing. If you're trying to get interest, you do that by telling them you're interested and moving on from there and building a connection. And also, to a larger extension, you also want to treat them well so you don't antagonize them to get a rise out of them, and vice versa. And you really just want to treat them like a human being, as you would want to be treated as well. At least outside of the bedroom, nothing against doms or subs. Do your own thing. I'm just talking about staying out of the friend zone. So, number 6, don't talk about the us. This is, again, this future state. Don't talk about the us and the we and, it'll be amazing when we move forward from just being friends to being in a relationship. Then you meet my mom and, the us, the us, the us. Avoid the us completely. This is someone new. Next, and this is the most important one because I got to tell you, these nice guys, these alphas, these pickup artists, this is what they do. Don't whine. That's it. Don't whine. And I mean that where you did something nice for someone and they're not into you and you complain about it to your friends. Or you complain about it online, make a video testimonial and all this. Don't whine. Don't complain. Man up, so to speak. Just don't whine. It's not attractive. It's incredibly negative. And by extension, when you don't whine, you become indifferent to it. You get rejected, fine. It happens. You did a big gesture and it didn't work, or a small gesture and it didn't work, fine, whatever. Doesn't matter. At the end, the next day it won't matter, and the next day it won't matter. 8th step, be clear about your attraction. I cannot stress this enough. Being direct about your attraction is the best way to figure out if someone is into you, at very minimum, slightly into you, or not. This really sets the groundwork for anything that moves forward. If you're just straight up, and when you say, hey, I am attracted to you, let's hang out, maybe you don't speak it, maybe you don't say it in a way that's so clinically sounding. If you just tell someone you're into them, chances are they will give you an answer. Even if it's an indirect, well, maybe, you know what that sounds like. You know what that means. Finally, 9, and these two, 9 and 10 are if or. 9, if you are rejected, handle things gracefully. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Men of the universe who feel like they're not getting girls and they're being put in the friend zone. Being friends with attractive women is really great. It is wonderful. There's nothing wrong with being friends with attractive girls. It really benefits you. When you can say, oh, I'm hanging out with some friends, they're girls, we don't hook up or anything, these are just my friends and they're nice. It makes you seem normal. And you're probably normal if you've got some friends, or especially if they're a girl that you maybe were attracted to, didn't work out, and you just remain friends. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Trust me, it benefits you. When you have a friend who you were attracted to, it didn't work out, it's fine, whatever, and they are attractive, chances are they're going to have an attractive friend. And if you've been a straight up decent person and you meet one of their friends and they're interested in you and they ask about you, what is that girl who you were initially attracted to going to say? Oh, he's really nice. Did you guys date? No, we didn't date. Do you think I should date him? Yeah, I think he's a nice guy. It does not hurt to have attractive friends as long as they are not treating you poorly. 10th, if they do reciprocate, if they are actually interested in hanging out and think that they are attracted to you, go on a date. If you started as friends, you need to break out of that friend mold if they are interested in doing so. What I mean by that is, me especially, earlier in my life, in my dating life, I would often have quote unquote dates where really I was just hanging out in my apartment and, there'd be takeout and there'd be movies and video games, etc. Now, while that was appropriate for when I was 21 and I had no money, at 25, it really wasn't a date. I had some money by then. So you need to take them on a romantic outing. Now, if that romantic outing is an actual dinner date, fine. If it is a walk in a park, walk on a beach, sunset, make out, whole picnic, even if it's cheap, a date is a date. A date is not in your apartment. That is you hanging out. If you're in a couple and you have a date night and it's really just you hanging out at home, fine. If you are new to dating someone, you want to go somewhere with them. Even if it is a walk in the park, a picnic, you don't have to spend $300 on a date. You don't have to spend $100 on a date. You don't have to spend more than $20 on a date if you're smart. You can do a picnic in the park. I'm sure you live somewhere that has green grass that you can sit in and enjoy a picnic with someone you're interested in. There you go. And finally, this is not one of the 10, but if you find that even with all these things going on, that someone is legitimately leading you on and asking you to do things that you don't want to do, and you get the feeling that they're trying to take advantage of you, cut that person off. They really are trying to take advantage of you. They're not putting you in the friend zone. They're just someone who uses people. They're just people in the world who use people. Sometimes they're attractive women. Sometimes they're just guys that who are sketchy and want you to do things for them without reciprocating. So just cut these people off. They're not putting you in the friend zone. You're putting yourself in the friend zone by keeping them in your life. But at the same token, if a girl's not attracted to you and not interested in dating you and is clear about it and doesn't have unrealistic expectations for you, that isn't the friend zone. That's just someone who isn't into you. And there's a difference. So if you follow my tips and avoid those alpha nice guy traits, you will never, ever, I promise you, and this is the one time that I can guarantee it, you will never be in the friend zone again. So, as always, good luck out there and goodbye.